this is so cozy. Oh, I like your dried wheat. It's very Theresa May. Yeah, I thought probably. I know you guys. So what are you going to do with this?
So, it is a pilot for podcast, and I think the dream is with it is to, I don't know if I've told you this, but I oversee evangelism now for Kixie. And so...
Isn't everything evangelism?
Amen, Lauren. Amen. Need more of that. But yeah, so the idea is to have a bit of a landing page for people. So like I'm exploring faith kind of thing. So we would have a pointer to like the Alpha course. And
so this is to appeal to someone who just walks in and they're like, I don't really know if I like this, but I'm here.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that kind of person, and maybe they're not even ready to go on an Alpha course yet.
Yeah.
But I think the whole thing, the whole sort of premise of it is inviting people to be curious about who Jesus is and the impact he's had on people's lives. Hence why I brought you in.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can just be like, no need to feel like you need to be anything other than yourself.
So what happens though if this pilot is recorded and then, you know, the board will watch it and they're like, nah, shouldn't have thought so.
Worst case scenario. I hope that doesn't happen, Lauren, but then it's just for me, you and me. Just for you and me.
Lovely
so
to
yeah.
hang out.
Yeah.
we don't get enough coffee.
We don't get to do that enough.
Like you were saying, like we have like an I'm New page on our website, which is like people exploring church, and like it could be that it's like a standalone thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I've got my questions.
Oh, have you written your down?
Yeah, I just thought. Well, there's just the note form, the ones I sent you.
Oh, look, you've starred that you'll probably ask me a follow-up question there. That's nice.
Keep you on your toes. Was there anything that you were like not happy to talk about? Because I know.
I didn't even read them. So whatever you want to ask me is fine. I'm far better off the cuff.
Are
People
you?
are always like,
Yeah.
Oh, should I send you the question? I was like,
As
long as you're not going to be like, what is your specific stance on trans rights, then I'm fine. Because
come on, Lauren.
I'm just not looking to get cancelled today.
That's the follow-up question.
That is the
Follow-up question. Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
easy.
you're
Just ask
easy.
whatever you want to ask.
Okay.
And if you ask something that I think is hideously inappropriate, I'll just be like, wow, I'm surprised you feel comfortable asking me that.
How dare you?
And then I'll walk out. I'll Meg Ryan this whole thing. I'll make you feel so uncomfortable. I'm joking. It's going to be fine.
But yeah, do you have any warm-up techniques when you're presenting?
No. What do you mean? Like before you're in a
Vocal.
choir and you're like, me, my mama, me, my
Do you
mama,
do
me,
any
my
of that?
mama, me.
Yeah.
No. What do I do? If I want to warm the person up, I
Yeah.
might ask them a snog, marry, avoid.
Okay.
Oh, I quite like to
do
do
that to
snog,
you.
marry, avoid the Petes. Pete Gregg, Pete Winter, Pete Hughes.
Go on,
Yeah.
tell me. Go on.
Mine would. We're not recording, are we?
I'm just stopping.
I think I would. I know who I'd avoid, and I'd avoid Pete Gregg, and that is not because I don't like him. It's because
Your voice is so savage, isn't it?
he didn't have time to read and endorse my book.
He avoided you first.
He avoided me first. To be fair, it's tit for tat, Pete.
Tit for tat.
So if you've got an issue with that, you started it, you know. So that would be Pete Gregg. Who would I snog and who would I want to marry?
Yeah. Big question. Just remember where you are, Lauren. You're in King's house.
Both, I think. Look, any gal would be lucky to have Pete Winter or Pete Hughes, right? They're like.
It's just the question of the gut in the moment.
I think I would marry Pete Winter
Okay.
and snog Pete Hughes.
No way. I thought you were going to go the other way around.
Yeah, well, it's tough. I think I find Pete Hughes a bit intimidating, right? Because he's just this spectral presence in my life, in my emails. Because like he emails me, but I didn't see him at Wildfires. I didn't see him at KXC. We've never had a conversation face to face.
That's so funny.
Because he just avoids me.
He's
So-
also avoiding you.
Should have avoided him, to be fair. Snogged and married Pete Winter, binned off the other two. But no, like, I feel like I've been like courting friendship with Pete Hughes for years.
A long time.
And he just, any
He's
room I'm
not
in,
here
he
today
doesn't want to be in.
either.
See? Checks out. Oh, you're interviewing Lauren. Great. Off-site meetings.
South Africa.
So there you go. Like, or there's nothing I can do. He doesn't want to be my mate. B makes a beeline for me. She comes and says hi. So maybe she's a better option.
Okay, I've got a fun question for you.
Okay.
When you're at these like festivals
Yeah.
and all the things you've been to, what do you think is like the weirdest interaction you've had with someone? Like being like starstruck or,
Starstruck.
I know, but I can imagine, Lauren. I can imagine.
Starstruck. No. Wait, hang on. You have to do your snog, marry, avoid first. While they're not in the room.
Well, they're not in the room.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not recording, are they? No, there's no red lights.
I'd have to marry Pete Hughes. Loyalty.
It'd be rude not to.
It'd be rude not to.
Who are you going to bin?
Pete Winter. Don't know him. Don't know him from Adam.
Oh, he's lovely.
Is he lovely?
Yeah.
Pete Gregg. Do you know what I would say?
He's a
about
bit dishy as well, though. Pete Winter's a bit dishy.
Is he?
He's like the hottie of the HTV
No
community.
way.
Yeah, big time.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Also, as with all three of them, very happily married to wonderful women.
Hypotheticals.
Yeah, absolutely. And we honour those relationships. But no, he's a super. We do. But he's aesthetically pleasing.
Right,
They all are,
All are. Yeah.
but maybe slightly, maybe marginally
He
more.
just edges over.
Just a whisker
about.
over the line.
A whisker?
A whisker over the line. So wait, you would avoid Pete Winter because you've avoided him all your life, so he wouldn't even care.
Exactly.
Nothing
and
would
Pete
change.
Gregg, I would say, one time we did a podcast with him, pattern podcast, years ago, and it was on solitude, and he was lovely. He was in the room, and then he came to KXC maybe like a year ago, and I did the whole, obviously he's not going to remember me, so it's like, hey, it's really nice to meet you, and he went in with, it's lovely to see you again. He remembered me. And I was like, that's the sort of person, that's lovely,
quite
isn't it?
Gemma Collins energy from you, though. You're like, oh, we've met, have we? Sorry, what was your name again?
Peter? Pedro?
Love that from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on here then? What are we doing? Double microphone.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Oh, no.
Sorry,
Well, the microphone's not hooked up to us then.
It's
is
not.
it?
It's not.
No. Weirdest interaction. I've had some really nice interactions. I've had some which are really moving for sad reasons, like people have felt really moved by something I've said.
Yeah, and they've been honest.
And I've had some people come over and be like, oh my gosh, I love your book, blah, blah, blah. Have I had anyone do anything weird?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
I'd say there's a contingent of about 15 blokes who almost certainly have some sort of learning difficulty or different need or neurodivergent in some way, who reply to everything I do on Instagram.
Really?
And they're very kind, and
Are they
it's
in love with
always
you?
in a really gentle way.
Are they in love
But
with you?
every now and again, one of them will show up somewhere and be like, we message all the time on Instagram. And some of them even I'll post a meme on my stories.
Yeah.
They'll reply, that's hilarious, haha, Lauren. And then they'll send me back a meme as if it's the two of us in a conversation. So
Are they in love?
Well, I don't ask. No, I don't know. I think I could probably secure some dates if I wanted to.
It sounds like that. It sounds like that.
But that was that. And sometimes they show up and they're like,
That's quite sweet.
We're
And they'll be like,
besties. And they expect me to really know stuff about their lives as well. But lots of, that's the most awkward thing, right? Is that I'd say 3 times a day, someone messages me on Instagram to ask for advice or to tell me something or and sometimes I'll reply at some point. But then if they're then at a festival that I'm at, they'll make a beeline and be like, it's Jodie. And you're like,
hey, Jodie.
of course, remind me.
Yeah.
And then sometimes even when they do remind me, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And some people share like very personal things.
Yeah, of course.
And then you feel guilty that you don't know who they are.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's so fancy. What is this
isn't it?
Hillsdown?
I'll
No
get
life.
one, yeah.
Lovely.
Someone left it on an event, so.
Oh,
It's not
fab.
fancy having fancy water.
No, that's good.
It's not resourceful.
Mm.
Just pads out, makes the stool look a little bit less random.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, no, should put the branding at the front.
Life.
Advertising.
Life water.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Good. We're about to get going.
Okay,
They
good.
are just finishing packing down next door
Mm-hmm.
in the next 2 minutes. So
Okay, lovely.
if you need a wee, if you need to do anything.
What does that mean for us?
Sorry, we just can't start recording till next door.
Because they're going to make a
Because
racket.
that'll make a little bit of noise.
Perfect.
Mm.
Maybe I will have a wee
Go
then.
on, go on.
Yeah. All right. I'll just pick these up.
Mm-hmm.
Stand on the right. Nice.
Nice. Thanks for all your hard work, Sam.
Pleasure.
Honestly,
It looks great.
it looks great. Honestly.
Gentle reminder
Yes.
not to so much.
Yes. Yeah. If I start to do that?
Yeah, I'll get Tommy to give you a look.
Yeah.
Tommy, can you be on watch out and give Lois a look if she's umming too much?
Should I ever look at you guys?
Try not to. But
Yeah.
I'll if I want to get your attention,
Yeah.
I'll probably just speak to you.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
we just like include it
Yeah.
or like cut it, depending on what it is.
Mm. Mm.
You know, like in the same vein
Yeah.
as your intro
Yeah.
chat, which
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
Should I start recording and then you start when
Yeah.
she sits down?
Yeah.
Do you have that for me? Yeah. And if I'm trying to do it subtly,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I'll just.
Yeah, those two are right.
Lovely.
Mm. So I'm actually not going to do any intro stuff in here.
No.
Just start talking.
You don't overthink it either.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this.
Do you know what I think I've lost I've lost a necklace.
Have you?
Yeah, I was wearing 2 necklaces today
Oh my goodness.
to retrace my steps.
Drama.
Drama.
Good.
Sorry.
It's alright.
Lovely.
Right, you happy, Sam?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'll roll it in the room and then we'll-
Rolling. Mm-hmm.
Do they sit in a different room and watch us like
Sam
it's
is
a
sitting
prison?
in-
Is he?
Yeah.
With a monitor?
On the monitor, yeah.
That's
He's going
wild.
to edit it live.
No.
Wow.
Let's make it really hard for him to edit live. Like, let's not take a single breath in between sentences. Just like really test him.
Like, what is going on in here?
And slip a swear word mid-sentence, like constantly. So he's got to, like, he'll earn his money today.
We're leaving all that in.
Yeah. What room is he in? The media room?
He's in the room, yes. He's like switching, like as we would for like a live stream. So
Mm.
he's going to be flicking between these.
Are you guys like full-time tech people for KXC?
Yeah, Sam is. Sam's like looks after all the production.
What's your job?
I'm communications.
What I'm hearing here is that the KXC congregation are tithing too much because this is wild. And I'll pass that on to my friends at KXC. Just chill out. 8%'s fine.
8%.
Oh dear. So I've just watched the whole of The Office in 2 days,
Wow.
UK,
Oh, bless you.
because my friend's birthday is on Friday
Mm-hmm.
and he's obsessed with The Office. So I'm throwing an Office-themed birthday party.
You're throwing it for him.
Yeah.
That's so kind.
Yeah. Have you seen The Office?
I never got into it. I never did. Yeah. Are
That's
you all
wild.
going to dress up as characters from The Office?
Better than that.
Go
But
on.
you won't get the jokes if you haven't. Have
Oh.
you watched The Office? No.
In the
Sorry,
zone.
was
He's in the zone.
Too busy working. Have you watched? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Right.
it's alright.
Have you watched The Office UK?
I'm not sure of it.
Right. Yeah.
Love it.
So, for my friend's birthday, it's an Office themed party. I've got 4 different types of jelly with stationery in it.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah. I've got a sign that says "Money don't make the world go round." I'm reaching out to higher ground.
I don't
Desiree.
get it, but I love that.
And then we're doing Scotch eggs. We're doing, so there'll be 3 different drink stations. One's lager, once lager, sometimes cider, and that will be interacting between them. There'll be a quiz. He's going to have to try and throw some shoes over a building. Yeah. What else have we got?
Have you got the chicken?
No.
I've got to go out there and
Chicken.
bring laughter. You know,
Yeah. Oh, I might actually be able to hire that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring laughter. Yeah, you're so right. Why haven't I done that? And what else have we got? Oh, and I've got a friend. Yeah, dance off's happening. Got a friend bringing a guitar so he can do, you know, yeah, on the free love freeway. The love is free. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. It will be good. Yeah, thank you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Did he ask you to throw it office theme?
No. It's a surprise party. He doesn't even know it's happening.
Come on.
Oh, well, actually, it was supposed to be a surprise party, but then we were all doing something else. And one of my mates was like, oh my gosh, it's so funny that you're having an office theme party for your birthday. And he was like, what? And he was like, yeah, it's on Friday. And he was like, what? He was like, I've not been invited. And my friend Paul was like, Paul of Paul's Pool Party was like, no, you are, mate. And then he gets his phone out, shows the message. And as he's reading it, goes, you're invited to Barney's surprise.
Oh, no.
And he like puts the phone away. But you're into Friends, right? Yeah. He doesn't know we know he knows. So we've gone ahead like he doesn't know.
That's so good.
And he's going to have to do his best I'm surprised face with all of us knowing he knows. So if anything, it's better.
I'm so surprised.
I know. Let's see how good an actor he is, you know.
I love it.
Someone wants to come in. I don't think we're recording. You can do. Hiya.
Hey, Marianne.
I need to tidy up next door, so I'm trying to avoid making noise at times you don't want me to.
Yeah, lovely. We're just about to record. So, what's the noisy things?
Well, I just need to carry lots of boxes and open the door and things like that. Sam said it was like 4 o'clock that you were starting,
we're going to, that's alright, I think just try and keep it as quiet as possible.
Can you shout, can you give me like a 2-minute warning?
Yeah.
Because I'll just bash loads out now and then we're done.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Marianne.
I was thinking of asking about cause what I was thinking, Lauren, what we're going to do is we're not going to do like I'm not going to do a like, hey, I'm with Lauren Windle, We're going to do that, record that later.
Okay.
So we'll just launch in and start talking. But I'd just like ask you a little bit about you and then we'll start talking about the faith stuff.
Great.
But I was thinking I would ask you, well, I think one of the things I find most interesting about you is that you're a neuroscientist, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That means I can read your mind. Have you seen that clip of Australian Bachelor?
No.
Where the guy goes like, he meets this girl for the first time, one of like the 20 he's dating. And he's like, oh yeah, so I work as an astrophysicist. And she goes, no way. So I'm a Libra. So yeah.
Wow.
I know, so good.
So good.
So good.
I'm a Libra.
So I'm a Libra. I've got a friend, right, and she works in advertising. She used to work at this like really fancy company. That was like, but it was like really funky, like Google vibes, like they all thought they were quite cool. And then she moved to a really corporate, like they did advertising for like banks and So she was in her intro meeting and they were all like, yes, so I got my MBA here and then and they're like, you know, just say a few words about yourself to get to know you. And she stood up and she was like, I'm Emma, I'm a Leo. Just to like lighten. Yeah. Where are my Leo girls? It was like so.
I see you, sister.
You have to really be confident you're good at your job to act like an idiot like that.
You do.
Like she's shit hot, but you just wouldn't if like unless you knew you were gonna fully.
You were gonna bring your A game. Wow, that's a bold woman.
That's part of her quirk. Yeah, massively. She's like, I don't mind if you all think I'm stupid because I'm coming for your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we go.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So you're just gonna ask me stuff about myself?
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask you. We'll just ease in to talk about Lauren. Tell us about Lauren.
Yeah. What's under the mask? What's going on in
In
here?
here. Let's talk about your heart.
Yeah.
And
big
Lauren,
time.
it's gonna be hard for me, but I'm gonna try not to and ah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been told that's good for the podcast.
To not and
Mm-hmm. You see what I do?
Don't you think it's quite nice to show the other person that you're listening?
Exactly. But I'm going to do that a lot with my face.
Oh my gosh, yeah, love that. So then when you do make a noise, I'll know that that's me wrapping up, so you can ask a question. So interesting. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, let's do
Should
it.
we do it?
Do it.
Okay.
Roll away.
Roll away. Okay, let's start by just talking about you, Lauren.
Let's talk about me.
Talk about you. What have you been up to
Love
today?
this. What have I been up to today? Oh, I wasn't expecting such challenging questions.
We've gone in high.
Oh my gosh, you told me this was going to be casual. No, what have I done today? I made myself a smoothie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And someone told me that it's really important to have kefir. So I went in with like the proper, like unfiltered, no sugar goat's kefir that tastes like cheesy, fizzy milk.
Got you.
So the only way I can imbibe it is through the medium of smoothie with a lot of other sugary things. Otherwise, it's just like
Unbearable.
awful.
What are the health benefits of kefir? Do you know?
I think everything they say on a Yakult advert.
Right. Good
It's
gut.
it's
Good gut.
it's good bacteria, gut, digestion, all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
All the sort of generic wellness one could want. You know?
And you know, because fun fact about you, neuroscientist, right?
Which means I'm really up on gut health and enzymes in the stomach. Yeah, big time.
That is your zone of expertise.
Yeah, in terms of nervous system. People think it's all in the brain, but it's actually right down there in the tummy.
right down
So
there in the
yeah,
gut.
no, that was mean, and probably, and because we're friends, probably not the first and last time I'm going to take the mick out of you.
I better get ready.
On this at your job. Yeah, no, I have got a neuroscience degree. I studied neuroscience a few years ago, and then I went back and did a master's specifically in addiction studies, which has got quite a lot of overlap because it's how like chemicals interact with the brain.
Right.
So I really like the brain. I haven't done a huge amount of it since, but it gifts me two things. One is when they talk about neuroscience on TV shows and they're like, no, it's attacking his blah, blah, blah. I can laugh along because I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about. And also it's a really good way of surprising people who've underestimated me. So I like to whip it out at dinner parties just after I finish talking about Towie or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Just send their minds into confusion.
Yeah.
No, she loves Towie and she's a neuroscientist.
Oh my gosh, I can't compute
Crazy.
this. It's all the fun.
Crazy.
All the fun.
But we're not just here to talk about neuroscience, Lauren. We're here
No.
to talk about you.
We
And
are.
so I would love you to just share with us a little bit about your life and maybe specifically something of how you came to faith.
Thank you so much for asking, Lois. Just took a little sip, of my water there. Gearing
Well
up. Yeah. Right. A bit of my life, specifically through the lens of like faith journey. So I was raised going to church. That's the first thing to say. And I didn't like it. My mum used to take me to church when I was younger, and I could see good in it, and I could see good in God. I would say that was the sort of spiritual entity that I felt I could connect to and understand best was God.
Yeah.
And that was fine. The sort of kindly father figure, but who also gets pretty peeved when you do things wrong, right? That was my God.
Yeah.
As a kid. But it was the Christians I really struggled with. And I've said this a few times, and it's like I felt really judged. And particularly as I got older, because I think as a child, like, yeah, okay, you get told off when you're naughty, but you're not really up on the whole shame judgment thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get a bit older, as a teenager in church, what I found is lots of churches will speak to you a lot about sex, drink, drugs, right? And if you're not having sex, you're not drinking, you're not taking drugs, then you are a successful Christian teenager, right?
Yeah.
Which is rubbish because there are so many other metrics that we could be looking at for sort of spiritual development and general well-being in people's lives. But those were the hot three, and I was doing them basically as a teenager, not so early as like 13, but certainly by like 15, 16. And I just felt unwelcome, and like I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I'd never be good enough. So church just like wasn't for me. It was the summary. And then when I got to those sort of early teenage years, probably around 13, when my mum was like, okay, so you don't have to come if you don't want to. You can stay home. I like jumped at the chance to stay home because I just didn't enjoy church. So then I guess in those sort of from 13 to it'd be 25 is when I walked back into a church. I know. Can you? I don't even look much more than 23, 24.
I thought you were 27.
There you go. It really throws people when I say that. No, so there was a good sort of 12 years where I wasn't involved in a church. I still would have described myself as Christian. And every now and again when I was really drunk, I'd pray. Like, oh, this has been a rubbish day. God, why is everything so awful? And I'd pray. And I remember a couple of times like trying to find something of God. Like I was really high. So I started taking drugs quite seriously in this time as well. Like not really plugged into any kind of church community or anything like that. Didn't have any personal relationship in terms of prayer or Bible or Christians around me. Lots of drugs, lots of drinking, lots of partying, various boyfriends who weren't very good for me. Remember being really high, and the party was over-ish, but I'd kept it going on my own because that's what you do when you love drugs and drinking. So I was on the sofa feeling really alone, feeling really depressed, feeling really like boxed in by whatever I'd done that night, and turned on like Freeview. And you know, if you just keep going past all of the channels, like all of the normal channels people watch, even further than Babe Station, then you get to like these like Christian like radio shows and stuff like that. And I was like looking for one, and I was like, God, if you're real, put my favorite song on, right? And I remember doing that when I was much younger as well, and my mum took me to HTB because I wasn't loving the church I was at. And I said like, oh well, God, if you're there, you'll put my favorite song, you'll make them sing my favorite song. And they did. Wow. So I was like, great, oh my gosh, round 2, let's do this again, as a sort of like, I don't know, 19-year-old. And they didn't. And I was like, well, that's 1-1, so who knows, you know? But it's funny, I think lots of us can issue those challenges. And you hear in people's stories as well, they're like, and I just said, you know, if you're real, make this person walk through the door. And then sometimes you hear that happens, you're like, oh my goodness, that is an absolute miracle. It doesn't always. It really doesn't always. You know, you can be there in a really desperate moment and be like, show me something. And actually, sometimes that's not your time.
That's so real.
And it's like, so I remember thinking like, all right then, God's obviously, you know, out of office is on or whatever, or I'm just wrong. So roll on a few years. Drugs had really gotten out of control for me. I told my sister about like what I'd been doing. I'd been taking drugs and stuff, and she had stayed in church and had enjoyed church way more than I had, and had really lovely friends and things. And then she sort of knew I was drinking. She probably suspected I took drugs, but she wasn't sure. So when I finally told her, she was like, okay, fine. She moved me in with her on the Saturday, and on the Sunday she took me to church, and it was a really nice church in South London. And someone like stood up and talked about something they did for homeless people, and I was like, cute. That's nice. So good to like be lovely to other people. Like, these are good people. And my sister was like, so what did you think? And I was like, yeah, they're really nice. She was like, but for you, do you want this to be like a thing? And I was like, no, like, I get it's important to you. I can see that they're good, and that's nice, and like church does good things, but it's not for me. Like, it doesn't feel like home for me. It doesn't feel like somewhere I should be. And she was gutted because she was like, you know, she showed up. She you know, she was there. Why, God, haven't you like gone to get her? Why are you not reaching back? You know? So that was like a serious, like a real knock for her. But actually in their homeless thing, I remember them saying, when you do stuff, you should tell people you're doing it because you believe in Jesus. And a few months later, I was walking down just by like the Sainsbury's near me, and sitting outside, you know, kind of near the cash point, kind of near the entrance, was a guy in a wheelchair, and he had no legs. And I don't know if he was maybe like a veteran or had some sort of illness or something. I didn't ask, but he was homeless, and he stopped me and asked me if I'd give him money. And they always say like, oh, don't give homeless people money because you don't know. Yeah. And I got chatting to him, and he was like, I need this much to stay in this hostel tonight. Yes. And I thought, well, I'll phone the hostel and I'll check. And I was like, okay, I'll give you the money. I gave him 30 quid, so enough for like the hostel for a weekend and some food and stuff like that. And I said to him, I'll phone the hostel to check. And then I was like, oh, but I'm doing this because I love Jesus. I was like, well, that's what they said to do. And then afterwards, I never did phone the hostel because it wasn't about that. Yes. You know, and I would have felt really disheartened if he hadn't turned up. And if he had, it made no difference to the world other than just what I knew of the world. And I didn't feel like I needed the knowledge, you know. Yeah. So I never called. But I remember telling my sister I'd done that, and she was like, really pleased. And she wrote me a card saying like how proud of me she was for doing that, and she was like really encouraging. And it was probably about a year later that I walked back into a church, and by this point I had been challenged on my drinking and my drug taking by enough people that I'd gone to a recovery group, and they had said in that recovery group that I needed a higher power. And for some people that's like nature and the trees, and some people it's, you know, another sort of standard religion, you know, that they identify more with. And some people it's just literally the power of a group of people collected with a common interest and a common goal is stronger, is a higher power than you as an individual. So I was like, right, well, I've got to work out what this higher power thing is. And basically the last higher power I remembered engaging with, and the person people had been talking to me about, was God and Jesus and the Christian God. So I rocked up at a church, and I think honestly, if I hadn't liked it, I just would have gone to yoga, because that's like what everyone does. They're like, oh, spiritual journey. I'm a yoga instructor now. But actually, like, I found really good community in that church. They were so kind to me. They were really gentle at a time when I didn't need someone to tell me how bad I was, because I really felt that already. I didn't need someone to be like, you've got to change this, this and this. I just needed someone to like accept me as I was. And that's not something I had found in previous churches, but I did find it there. And I think that was amazing. And that was it. And then I was like, you know, well, it took me a while, to be fair. It wasn't it. It's not like, people have these like lightning bolt stories where they're like, and then this came, and I felt this, and I saw this, and I don't have that. I have a slow slog towards learning about faith and God that was really painful, quite boring at times. And it was one tiny pigeon step after another. And then after about a year and a half, I turned around and realised I'd actually travelled quite far.
I love that.
But that's like, I don't have one of those like, and bam, I was there. I was unsure. I asked lots of questions. There was lots I didn't like. I was resentful. I pushed back. I challenged things. I read things. I disagreed. And I still do a bit. You know, I say to my mum, I'm like the church's problem child. And she says, I'm the voice of the church's problem children. So that's fine. But like, you know, and I think that that's an important part of the journey.
Totally.
So yeah.
Slow burn, you might say.
Slow burn. If I was speaking in Love Island language, I would say slow burn. Yeah. Slow burn. So you've exposed yourself. We all know what you do at 9 o'clock on a weekday night.
Oh gosh. Okay, Lauren. So
then I put all my eggs in Jesus's basket.
Amen. Well played there. Well played. Well, I'm going to pull you back to the chat. See what I did there?
Yeah,
See
love
what I did
that.
there?
Love that. Yeah. Pull me for a chat.
Pull you for a chat.
I'm just going to adjust the mic.
Sure.
My mic?
Yeah.
Oh no. Did I touch it?
Sorry. No, I don't think so. You're all good. That was wonderful.
Yeah,
Sounds
Lauren.
that good? Sorry, Lauren.
No, don't worry. I think I might burp. Should I do it?
Do it now.
Right into the microphone.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
Good one, just tend to like
Sorry, I
in the
did.
right position.
Apologies, Sam, for that.
Well, good, Sam.
I also love that, what you were saying about the slow. I think that's so important.
I think that you just hear all of these like
Bam.
big stories, and people like just get really, get really like, well, that's not me, so obviously it's not as good.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, don't worry.
Don't worry.
Pick it up where
Take it back.
Yeah.
Um,
Pull me for a chat.
Pull you for a chat. Pull you for a chat. So it feels like what you're saying, the slow burn, this was like quite a slow, gentle journey for you. Can I ask you what you feel like now when you reflect back? What kept you on that journey? And maybe were there moments when you thought, this isn't for me, faith isn't for me?
Did I think faith wasn't for me? I definitely started with a pick and choose attitude. Like some parts of faith, 100% for me. So because I went into recovery at the same time as I went into faith, they say in a sort of recovery space, take what works for you and leave what doesn't. Right. And that's sensible, because one thing about it can really put you off. For example, if you don't buy into this whole higher power thing at all, and some people really don't, then you might walk out and not find that recovery and end up in an institution or in prison or dead or whatever because of your using. So like, to find a way to make that work for you can save your life, right? Whereas the other thing I was exploring and learning about at the same time was faith. So I took the same attitude initially, like, okay, this works. I like the group that I'm in, the sort of women's Bible study I was in. I like the friendship. I like certain aspects of it, so I'm going to take those for now. And that isn't like a practice I would recommend, because faith isn't down to our individual judgment and God knows what he's doing and da-da-da-da-da. But it kind of got me through the door. And also something that stopped me from walking away, I think, is all through those sort of teenage years, I'd just been given a list of things I shouldn't do. And every time I felt short, I felt I wasn't good enough. And I don't know if I was told in words I wasn't good enough, but I definitely got that message through from other people as well. And second time round, I didn't get that. There was no like, great, you're a Christian now, so you're not going to smoke, you're not going to swear, you're not going to, date, you're not going to, all of this kind of stuff. Actually, people were like, well, look, we think that your body and you would thrive best if you didn't smoke, but you smoke. So that's where you're at.
Yeah.
And I needed that. And I smoked for 1.5 years. When I got baptized, I was still smoking. But I'd just given up cocaine and alcohol. So you can't just be giving up all the good stuff in one go. You've got to pace yourself. And I think, I genuinely think like it's a flawed Christian perception that thinks that those visible things need to be wiped out immediately. Right. God knows what he's working on. And it could have been that God left me smoking for 10 years because I was so full of pride, and he was like, that's what's going to kill her. That's what's going to take her away from me. Let's take these 10 years to focus on her pride. And actually, just because, pride doesn't smell like tobacco, people don't know what it is that God needs to be working on. And often we're really quick to be like, well, can he be a real Christian if he's doing that? Can she be a real Christian? Are they really Christian if they're living together and they're not married? Like, maybe God is speaking to people about their smoking or about whatever it is they're doing. But unless you really know them well, it could be that you challenging them on it uninvited, without that sort of proximity to what their spiritual life is and what they're working on now and what God's saying to them, you could do more harm than good. So actually, that's what kept me. I don't know if there was a time when I thought, I don't want this. I think I needed to be cared for, and I found people caring for me. It was ironically, it was Christians that drove me away, but Christians that brought me back in.
Wow.
Because I didn't know God then. I definitely didn't know Jesus. Right, between you and me, Holy Spirit, weird. Like, what is that? That's not coming anywhere near me. And you hear these stories of like people falling over, laughing and being hit down and like losing control of themselves. And I'm like, nah, I shouldn't have thought so. That is absolutely not for me.
Yeah.
And I remember like, I've rarely been in an environment like that, but I've been in environments which are really sort of Holy Spirit-y, where, you know, more when I've matured a bit in my faith, and I've been to God like, right, am I going to do this like laughing, falling over thing? He's like, nah, that's not for you, Lauren. That's all right. And that does not make me any less holy, any less connected with my Father, with the Holy Spirit, It's just that God knows me and knows how we talk, and that's not how we talk, and that's cool. So Holy Spirit, I was a bit like, that's a bit of a question mark. Not super keen on that. Jesus, I always read the Jesus stories and thought he was a bit smug. I didn't get the like gentle friendship vibes, the like, here's a guy who challenges you. I got like, oh, he's been away from his family as a kid for 2 days. They come back and he's like, well, you knew I was here. Would you... You know, and then I said that to a few people and they were like, I think maybe you should re-look at those stories really gently. I don't think that now, but my initial reaction was to feel a bit like defensive and a bit like, well, was he that great? Doesn't sound that great to me. So that's been a journey that has been like a really amazing one to go on, but it starts with admitting what your preconceptions are outside of faith. And I think I sort of saw Jesus as the pillar of the judgmental, holier than thou people who sort of just knew everything, when actually like that was a real misunderstanding that I've learned in time. God, I was always kind of cool with. You know, I thought he was angrier than I do now, but also I think we could accept a little bit more of the smiting than we do these days. It's not all grace. Obviously there's lots of like, the grace is very important, but a bit of the God fearing, you know, there's a happy medium between me and my grandma, you know. So that's, you know, something that's part of my journey. But yeah, no, I didn't just bounce into relationship with all of those, you know, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. So what kept me was Christians, and that facilitated me growing in my understanding of those. And actually, genuinely, the shack really helped as well. Really early doors, I watched the film and read the book, and seeing God in a really homey way as a mother figure rather than a father figure was really important to me. And I know some people weren't happy with that, but I don't care. I thought that was really, really special, particularly as I had grown up in a majority African church. So that was a really, for people who haven't seen it, the figure of God is played by a black woman. What's her name? She's super famous. No. It's not Viola Davis.
Spencer.
Yes, thank you. So that was really, really special. The Holy Spirit was sort of a more floaty character, but Jesus, I thought, was portrayed as like a really like gentle, loving, but also wise and assertive kind of person, and that was really important for me as well. So I don't know if those depictions are always ideal, but I think if you take them for what they are, which is fiction, but sort of, you know, they're a starter for 10, aren't they, while you grow using the actual Bible, that really helped me. So it's a bit amateurish, but like it was really useful.
So cool. And Lauren, when I'm hearing you talk, what I think is really inspiring and really beautiful is how personal your relationship is with Jesus. And that sounds like, you know, you're talking about the timing that things happened, and like the gentleness of like even that journey of like you giving up smoking. Like, how would you encapsulate now, like how would you describe what your relationship with Jesus is like now?
What's my relationship with Jesus like now? It's good. Yeah, we're cooking on gas. No.
Simmering.
Yeah. Just simmering away. I think so. The thing is, right, I can say stuff And if you're not in the right place to hear it, it can sound quite cliche. And I don't like that. And I think often I felt on the outside of some of this chat when people are like, oh yeah, Jesus is like my best friend. And Jesus, because like if you're not in a place where you felt that, then it can feel really trite when you hear it. I'd say I like having the example of how Jesus does things. So like, I don't see Jesus, my relationship with Jesus isn't a friend, right? Because that would be equal feeding, equal support, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. And Jesus doesn't need me. He likes having me around, but he doesn't need me like I need him. And I know that, you know, and sometimes you get unequal relationships. And this is that's big time one of them. I'm the drain, he's the tap, right? And that's cool. I think that when I picture myself in a difficult situation, I think of it like he's standing next to me, like he's a mentor.
Yeah.
Like, so one of the things I absolutely love about Jesus, right, is that you can't catch him out. There's no riddle he can't solve, right? Every time through these Bible stories, they're like, oh, well, Moses said we should stone that woman, but you're like, oh, so kind. What are you going to do, Jesus? What are you going to do, right? You've got two options there, rock and a hard place. What are you going to do? You've got option A, you've got option B. Same with oh, should we pay taxes? You know, oh, who are we supposed to be? You know, all of that kind of stuff. He cannot be caught out because there's always a secret option C with Jesus.
So true.
So when I feel really stuck, I'm like, okay, it looks like there's option A and option B. Neither of these are ideal. Both of these involve, you know, hurting someone or getting something wrong or doing something that actually doesn't sit well with me, like morally, ethically, spiritually. There's always secret option C. And Jesus is the guy who like points me towards that. And I love that because that's like, for want of a more biblical phrase, that's like a magic trick, right?
Yeah.
To never feel backed into a corner, to always feel that you have the freedom to think more wisely, more widely about a situation. So that's really special.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so cool. Secret option number C. Number C? Letter C.
Oh, babe. Do you know what? I told that to someone in my life group and then they like left the church. They actually go to your church now.
No way.
Yeah. And then we were chatting about something and she was like, do you know what someone said to me once? And she repeated it back to me. And I was like, mate, are you quoting my thing to me? Like, if you're going to tell that to people, I'm going to need to hear you copyright it. Because, you know, no, I'm joking. Obviously, all thoughts about Jesus are free for everyone.
Welcome to it. Welcome for everyone.
Claim it as your own. I've definitely claimed other people's. The number of times I've told that Pete Hughes thing about the epidural.
Yeah.
God is not an epidural, he's a midwife. I've stopped even referencing him. That's
become yours.
That's mine. If anyone asks. What is original thought anyway? You know?
So Lauren, again, let me take you back to your life pre-Jesus.
Pre-Jesus.
I actually did a bit
BC.
Yes, BC. Did a bit of research on you before this.
Did you find anything online about me before I was a Christian?
Just seeing what you'd already put out there.
If you
Nothing scandalous. No.
Did you? I guess the only way to do that would be to like sit on my Facebook and go all the way back to like university.
Should have done that. They didn't do that.
That would have been horrific / hilarious.
No, this was something you put out there that I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
You once said, quoting, probably like, you know, paraphrasing but not quoting, but something along the lines of the fact that drugs and alcohol felt like an escape for you. And I would just be intrigued to know, since I've got you in the flesh and I can ask you the question, what do you think now when you reflect back, when you look back, what is it that you were trying to escape from? And potentially do you think you've escaped from it?
Yeah, so that is a paraphrase. I usually say no, but that is accurate. I usually say drugs and alcohol weren't my problem, they were my solution, right? And that I stole from Russell Brand. So I'll keep
another non-original thought.
You can keep quoting me and I'll keep telling you who actually said it. Yes, I definitely, in that time, didn't know what I was escaping from, and I wouldn't have been able to put language to it. I think it's with hindsight that it's far easier to identify those things. Lots of people in recovery say this, and I think lots of people feel it. I thought I felt things harder than other people. And I think to an extent I did. Like, some people, I'll ask them things and they're like, yeah, I guess if it doesn't work out. And I'm like, no, how are you not in absolute like tatters over the idea of that? You know, like, how have you just taken that in your stride? And it appeared to me that I could experience the same thing as a friend or a family member or whatever, and it would just hit me harder. And I don't know if that's because it literally hit me harder, or because I didn't have the same level of resilience or the same tools, or I hadn't been taught how to break it down into chunks and process it. So I just felt like when I was excited, I was more excited. When I was happy, I was more happy. When I was sad, I was sadder. I was more depressed. I was more angry. I was more anxious, more stressed, more tight, like whatever it was, than other people. And I really struggled to handle that. So drugs and alcohol, particularly in social situations, didn't provide me with, they didn't stop that being a problem, but they were a very effective distraction. So they gave me a sort of slip road so that I didn't have to keep feeling that way very temporarily. And then I'd just come back on and I'd be in the same place, if not worse. So effectively, and this is quite a recovery phrase as well, so you can quote me, but it wouldn't be me, is I couldn't deal with life on life's terms, because life is painful, you know, and like life comes with things which we all have to deal with, which are very difficult, like, you know, heartbreak or rejection, or friends not treating you as well as they could or should, and all of those kind of things. But then also some really difficult things which fewer people experience, but they have more of an acute effect. And there's really, you can protect yourself to an extent, but life's always going to get you, right?
Yeah.
And actually what we need is not to sort of hide away, not to never allow ourselves to be vulnerable or be in relationship with people because they could upset us, whatever. We just need to know how to take those difficult feelings and allow yourself to feel them. So I just didn't want to feel them, I think is the thing. But these days when I feel something a lot, like even this weekend, I've not been very well and and I just felt so overwhelmed, and I felt like I was being pulled by people in all directions, and I just had to say to myself, okay, this is how you feel right now. You're not going to stop yourself from feeling that way. You're not going to think your way out of it. It's how you feel right now. The capacity you have is the capacity you have. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to go to bed? Are you going to sit on the sofa and put something on that will just distract you? Are you going to do emails? Are you going to call a friend? Are you going to go for a walk? Like, actually, what have you got capacity for now? And then just do those things, rather than, because I think I felt annoyed with myself that I wasn't handling things as well as other people, and I really beat myself up for it. But that's it. You are where you are. You feel how you feel. And I think something that really helped me actually was during lockdown, when there was a point where I was feeling really low in lockdown, and I logged into the online sermon at KXE, and it wasn't my church, but I just thought, you know, you can moonlight with impunity during lockdown, can't you?
Moonlight with impunity.
No one knows you're dabbling. So dabble I did. And I can't even remember who was doing the sermon, but it was amazing. It was on lament. And it was the idea that in those difficult moments, you don't need to pray, God, stop me from feeling this way. Take me out of it. You can pray, God, sit with me in it. And actually, like, that's the whole midwife versus epidural thing. Like, God's not going to anesthetize you from the pain, but he's a safe pair of hands to sit with you, and he won't go anywhere. You know, he will stay with you until that's over, and it will end. But I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't want to do that before.
Amazing answer.
Danke. Thanks so much.
I also like how you brought around the epidural thing. Very good.
Yeah. Well, it comes up a lot. It's really good. It's something Pete Hughes and I came up with together. I actually think it was originally Brene Brown. So we're all just stealing off everyone. So it's not just me.
And I guess the sort of follow-up question or question connected to that, you talked a bit about the fact that you were exploring faith and going on this journey of recovery at the same time. And I guess maybe those journeys felt connected or, you know, at some points. What would you say to someone who was listening to this and maybe they think, you know, Lauren, amazing story, that's great for you, but you needed Jesus because you were an alcoholic, you know? That's not me. Why would I even consider this journey of faith? What would you say to someone who might be thinking of that, listening?
That's wild. People say that to me all the time. Do you know people say that to me all the time?
No, I don't.
Have you like heard someone ask me that or heard me say that people...
Overheard.
Because I do think if you've got the people who you invite on a podcast or invite on your stage, whatever, to tell their testimony are not the ones who are like, pardon me.
Better out than in.
Please don't put that in the edit. Sam, don't mess me up here. No. I think often the people who you platform, the people who come here, the people who go on a stage or podcast, whatever, are people who have got a testimony that's a bit different. It's not someone who like, yeah, I was raised in church, reasonably rural, few younger people, you know, went to a few Christian youth festivals, had a bit of a wobble at uni, and now I'm, you know, in church, struggle a bit sometimes, you know, sometimes life's tough, kids, job, whatever, family, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, what a snooze. Those stories are so amazing because actually people who haven't experienced a really, really life-altering sort of circumstance, but still have faith, right? That's wild. They don't have the same level of proof that I have. You know, I've seen enough that I know the difference Jesus makes in my life. But the people who can sit around and be consistent. I was listening to a business podcast the other day. I don't know why. Who do I think I am? I'm in Steve Jobs over here. I think it was that happy, sexy... Yeah. It's that happy, sexy millionaire guy. What's he called? The one who... Diary of a CEO. Yeah. Well, we've all got time for him, haven't we? And it was like the people who are most successful in business are the people who can withstand boredom because it's about doing the same thing over and over again, and that's how you get good at it. So we don't need the bang. We don't need the whoa. We don't need the near-death experience. Actually, the people who will go really far are the ones who, when they commit to their faith, they stick at it routinely, day in, day out, just faithfully doing effectively the same thing, reading the Bible, praying, turning up to church. That to me is the incredible story because it's like, how do you do that? But I guess if someone hasn't consistently committed to faith, but also hasn't got this thing, right, where like there's something big where it's like, yeah, Lauren definitely needed that. I'd say like, I just think it would be a shame not to live life. I mean, you could do that whole thing where you like on your deathbed, just pick a religion and you go for it, roll the dice, right? And I know people who are like, yeah, maybe when I get a bit older, I'll think about it, you know, super busy right now. I just think it's such a shame if people don't get the chance to experience like what this could be like, because the like amount of freedom that I felt, yes, from drugs and alcohol, but also like, even if I hadn't had the drugs and alcohol thing, even just like the peace, the headspace, the knowing that I can trust my convictions because I'm plugged in and I'm hearing from God, knowing that I don't have to do things in my own strength. And that could be literally getting up and having a shower or feeding your kid or hanging up the washing. You know, it doesn't have to be dragging yourself out from the pits of addiction. It's the day-to-day. You know, life is hard in the day-to-day, but that solution translates across the board. And I just think it's a shame that there are people who just never got to live that, you know? So I would love that for everyone, like right now. Yeah. You know, it's just like an enhancing, a seasoning, a bit of salt on your, and that's from the Bible. So
that's straight from the Bible.
That's straight from the book. Big time. Yeah.
Oh, Lauren Windle, what a joy to have
Are we
heard some
done?
of your story.
No, you're not wrapping up.
I think I am.
Ask me another one. Let's go again. I'm not done.
Good.
Let's
Anything
go
you want me to
again.
ask you? I just thought that was a beautiful ending. I did have one more question about church, but I just
You
I
just
loved
loved
that.
it. We were done.
I was done.
Oh, okay.
Is there one more? Is there anything else you want to say that you haven't had the chance to say?
No, probably not. That's fine.
I thought you smashed it.
I just felt like we were on a roll.
Oh!
Can I throw a question?
Yeah,
Yes, come on, Tommy Ellis.
Phrase it how you like. You mentioned earlier about the voice of the church's problem child.
Oh, yeah. I did.
How does that play out?
That's good.
And how do you navigate it? And like for many people, that might look like going down a big deconstruction journey, and for many people who might listen to this, that might be their journey. So like, yeah, what does it look like to navigate that role well?
Oh,
Okay.
I want you to say that question, but I'll try my best.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So let me practice it. So you mentioned earlier about being the problem child of the church. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's church's problem child.
Church's problem child.
Oh, the voice of the children.
voice.
Sorry.
The
The
voice.
voice of the church's problem children.
The voice of the church's problem children, and that being something that's still present for you. How would you say you navigate that? And what does it look like to still be I could maybe say be an active part of the church when that's something that's still going on for you? Yeah? Do you want to think about it?
Yeah, no, I'm ready.
She's ready to go. Okay. Little. I'm going to take a quick swig. That's a great question. The voice of the church's problem children. Yeah. Okay, Lauren, one final question from me.
No, don't let it end. I'm joking. Go on.
You mentioned earlier about being the voice of the church's problem children. How do you navigate and hold that whilst actively being a part of the church and holding that tension of that being like a real thing for you, but still committing to this faith and still being a part of the Christian church?
Yeah, the voice of the church's problem children. Yeah, I think I feel most comfortable in a room full of people who are the ones you kind of hope won't sit next to you on the bus. You know what I mean?
I know exactly.
Like, and you're there and you're like, oh gosh, it's always me who gets that person who sits down and tries to have a chat with you or whatever. And I don't love a lot of things about the institution of church. Yes. And we are waking up to that, right? I think that there's going to be a real movement towards house churches and smaller groups and things like that, because the mega church has not served us well at times, right? And certainly smaller leaders of smaller community churches are really important. There's so much about the church I love, and I think it's really important to say that. And when it's done right, it literally saves lives. It saved my life. Yeah. And, you know, I always think if someone's annoyed you, but you don't really like them, then what's the point in pulling them up on it? Because you don't intend to journey with them as they develop. You don't need that friendship and relationship to grow. Yeah. I love the church more than anything. Yeah. Which is why I want to have those difficult conversations, because at the moment there are things that aren't good enough. And in society, we are being invited to listen to the experiences of people that are not our own experiences. You know, particularly in the last few years, we've had Me Too movement where men learned more about the lived experience of women, you know, walking home or whatever. We had Black Lives Matter where people were speaking out about things that they've experienced that particularly white people wouldn't have been aware of because it's not their lived experience. Yeah. And I speak loads about single people and how actually there are so many single people who feel like second-class citizens. They feel like they haven't been chosen and therefore they aren't eligible for leadership or to step into important roles, or their opinions not as respected, particularly in a church setting, right? Yeah. And there are loads of other examples of that. And I do think it's important. And I do think that's not my phone. I'm on airplane mode, so.
You sound like a headmistress. That's not my phone. You're on a roll. It's beautiful.
Got a feeling that was Sam, to be honest. I do think that if we just let these things set, if no one's holding church leaders to account, if no one's speaking about these things, then it can be really, really damaging. And we're seeing that with some of the huge, corrupted church leaders and things like that. They haven't been held to account. They haven't been pulled up on things. So I feel like people like having me in their church until they realise that, if I'm in a white majority church, I'm like, but why? I've lived in London. Well, I've lived in London all my life, and there are loads of white majority churches, and then there are black churches, and and I can walk into a really popular church and be like, this doesn't represent the people I know in this community. So what's going on with that? Yeah. Why is there no one single who preaches from the front of this church? Why is everyone drinking so much? And stuff like that. And it sounds a bit like I'm the fun police, right? But I've seen it done well.
Yes.
It's changed my life. I've seen communities where people are truly there for each other. You can't always be there for everyone. Where people embrace the person you don't want to sit next to on the bus, and they accept that they can learn something from them, that their opinion's valid. They love speaking to elderly people, and it's not a chore for them to do it, because what they get from them is just gem after gem after gem, and then they offer companionship as well. But not in a like, oh good, the young people are here doing their bit for the others. The white people are going out there to get the black people in. The married couples have opened up a small window for a single person, all of that kind of stuff. It's not that one person is in a better position to graciously allow other people. It's that you're an absolute idiot if you do not take the time to see the good things and the wisdom and the lived experience of those around you, because that will only enrich your life and your understanding. And we do way too much talking and not enough listening. And church can be a community of absolute oddbods and everyone from all walks of life. It doesn't have to be homogenous. And I love that, and I feel so comfortable in that space. And particularly having seen it modelled in recovery groups like AA, it's what I want for the church. And it's spectacular. So I just keep slogging away, and I say it as I see it. And I think people who've really got that heart for Jesus don't need telling anyway. That's it. We just keep progress, not perfection. Small incremental changes, and hopefully we'll keep growing like the church into something more like what God and Jesus would love it to be.
Amen. Lauren, thank you so much for your time. Incredible Lois, insights and wisdom. It was so funny.
They shouldn't let me do this with people I'm friends with. If this had been like someone I'd never met before, or PQs,
on your best behaviour.
Honestly, I would have been so well behaved.
Honestly, you smashed that.
Thank you so
Truly.
much. Are we still recording? Are you complimenting me?
You smashed that.
Is that like my personal feedback, or is that going to be on the thing? Thank you so much. I really appreciate affirmation.
Honestly, you really did.
Thanks so much.
It's because it's who you are. You were just being yourself, and everything you were saying was true to yourself, and that's why.
Well, I think an interviewee is only as good as their interviewer.
Stop! What was I was doing?
Like how the nerve.
Oh.
How the nerve thinking like if it goes now, everything's lost.
The iPad's on 10%, the MacBook's on.
Oh, I love that. You really
I'm
are
9.
toying with danger.
Saved it at the end.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Good.
I love the pigeon steps.
Yeah.
Will it, you've edited it already then, basically?
Well, I've done a live cut,
Okay.
and so
But
we'll edit it into
bit?
different ways. So we'll probably do like promo and 1-minute clips on Instagram if we go. This is if we.
Sure.
But the plan is, which is all portrait, which we'll tag you and do co-posts and that kind of stuff.
Fun.
And then it'll probably go on a podcast, and then we might do a long form version on YouTube.
Yeah, nice.
Director's cut.
Director's cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it look?
It looked excellent. It was great. Sounded great. You guys are great.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Honestly,
Thank
you
you.
smashed
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So good.
It was really fun.
And thank you for coming when you weren't feeling 100%.
I was tracking on my phone.
Oh, really?
I feel like I
with Lois.
Yeah.
Just doing an intro.
Yeah.
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 Whether that's to camera or not.
Yeah.
Maybe to camera's quite good.
We might as well capture it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Yeah, great. This one. She's good. She's so engaging.
She is, isn't she?
I thought of names during that.
You thought of names? Oh yeah.
Unfiltered.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, you're really struggling. I do like Overheard. I think Overheard's quite good.
Yeah.
Unfiltered. Honestly.
Yeah.
That implies things aren't honest.
Yeah.
But unfiltered, I quite like.
Yeah, nice.
Don't know what else it could be.
Yeah. Faith talk, I had.
Pardon?
Faith talk.
Faith talk.
Yeah, you know, like real talk.
Yeah, nice. Can we just do a little intro?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Now that's fresh in your mind.
Yes.
A little like
Just.
What do you think?
I think.
What are you saying?
As in, intro for this episode as opposed to like for the
Yeah,
podcast.
intro.
Yeah.
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 I think the rolling start's really nice, but I think it's worth us capturing something just in case.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like join in as a chat to Lauren
Yeah.
about all things church, faith,
Yeah.
recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can say, hey, I'm Lois.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Lois.
We're gonna. I caught up with
This
friend.
yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe you could just like.
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
who
Lauren
Lois-
Windle.
Lauren Windle.
Yeah.
Who's an
Author.
she is.
Yeah.
To chat about faith, her journey through recovery.
Recovery.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All those sorts of things.
Into here. Yeah.
And to this.
Yeah.
Camera.
Yeah.
To that camera.
Okay.
Is it rolling? No. It's rolling.
Hi, I'm Lois. Join me as I have a conversation with my friend Lauren Windle, who's an author and journalist, as she talks all things faith and recovery.
Do that again.
So again. Do I need to do the hey, I'm Lois? Just
Yeah.
Mhm. Hey, I'm Lois. Join me as I talk to my friend Lauren Windle, author. Sorry. What do I want to say? My friend. I'll just say Lauren Windle, author and journalist. Yeah, as we took. Yeah. Hey, I'm Lois. Join me in my conversation with Lauren. You know, it always gets to this stage where it gets like, oh. Just need to shake it off. Hey, I'm Lois. Join me in my conversation with Lauren Windle, who's an author and journalist, as we talk all things faith and recovery.
Smashed it.
Lovely.
Cool.
That was really good.
Yeah.
It's really engaging.
She's so engaging, isn't she? Yeah.
And so you guys have that chemistry.
Yeah, your tone was amazing. As in, like,
Yeah.
how
It's
it
good.
did feel like a conversation.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
It's brilliant.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's really
I mean,
nice.
there's so many funny bits.
Are there?
that you're like, it's also like
Yeah.
a
Bit
naughty
cheeky.
promo.
It's a bit cheeky, isn't it?
It's actually really engaging. Just like
The burp.
the burping's really fun. They're like
Edit that out.
Yeah, edit that out, Sam.
edit that. The bit about Pete and stealing.
Yeah.
Copywriting.
Yeah.
I think Brené Brown actually said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad Pete's not in.
Yeah.
It would have been a bit.
Yeah.
on my best
yeah.
day. Like, that's
I
good.
left that rolling.
That like I would have been on my best
Yeah,
day. Excellent.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
which is
good.
why
Mm.
You're thinking faith talk.
My ideas were like talking faith around the idea of like Christians and faith.
Yeah, nice.
Faith.
Yeah. Simple. Does what it says on the tin, doesn't it? Yeah.
I thought unfiltered.
Ooh, that's nice. Yeah. That's nice. Unfiltered
like,
conversations. Yeah.
It does become
Yeah.
unfiltered, which is like the
Yeah.
slightly naughty edge.
Yeah. And
So
yeah.
that goes with like the naughty promos, like
Yeah.
Snog Marry Avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, not that I think
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
So we might have to get her permission if we want to.
Yeah.
But it is funny.
Yeah.
And it is unfiltered,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
naughty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Like real talk,
Yeah.
but I guess like faith talk.
Yeah.
Faith unfiltered or something.
Yeah.
Unfiltered.
Ooh, that's nice. Faith unfiltered.
It's like peeling back the it's having the real
Real
talk
conversation.
around faith.
Yeah, I like that. Faith unfiltered.
You could do the have you listened to what's the James A. Cast Food podcast?
Don't listen to
yeah.
that.
The intros are always like, we're in the restaurant where we're going to peel back the onion of faith.
Yeah.
And they like do this intro like, in a funny way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's good.
I think Faith Unfiltered is quite up there for me. I like that because it's like
It rolls
it's
off the tongue.
rolls of the tongue. It's about what you're getting. It's faith, but it's kind of like that connotation of like we're going to talk about real things. We're not gonna.
Totally.
Yeah. And also, I think even in terms of like for us, it gives us a bit of a remit of like actually when we talk to people, we want you to be really real, like just as she's been.
Yeah.
Like we actually want it to be.
Gives it its own like
Yeah.
realness,
Yeah.
essence, doesn't it? It's like,
Yeah. Because it's for the non-Christian, like we're not less like I love that.
Faith unfiltered.
Faith Unfiltered. Yeah.
Because you don't want what people don't want now is the big church.
Yes.
Is
Shiny.
the like shiny polished thing.
Mhm.
It's like,
Shiny
what do you
polished
actually?
interview like.
Yeah.
It's like what do you actually want to hear
Yeah.
about church
Yeah.
recovery and
Yeah.
what that was like?
Yeah. I really like Faith Unfiltered. It's good. I bet people love that.
People will love it. Faith unfiltered.
Faith
And she
Unfiltered.
was perfect in like.
She was
that first
perfect
one,
tone, yeah.
like, yeah, it helps stir up some
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
I loved the pigeon steps bit.
I did too.
Like
Great.
Yeah.
you can always do something funny. We could almost do something funny with that.
It's a little steps.
Pigeon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's great.
I think her magic is that she's just so real, like in every way.
Yeah,
You just feel like you can trust what she's saying, and as in terms of like if you're not a Christian, you'd be like, yeah, I actually believe what she's saying is right, like
What
true.
she thinks about that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few bits, and I was like, was that heresy?
Yeah.
There's a few bits where I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
Is this about our unfiltered? Is this about their theology?
Yeah.
Are we promoting
Yeah.
theology
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
someone we're getting on?
Yeah.
Or is
Yeah.
it about
Yeah.
hearing their thoughts?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I do, and it's a good question, isn't it? Like it's a good
Yeah.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we promoting?
Yeah.
Yes. But it was interesting when she was talking about Jesus not being her friend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But then
The
there was
rationale.
exactly the
Right.
rationale.
But
Yeah.
the great thing is she's
Yeah.
so good at that. At saying
Yeah.
something. That's why her reel popped off, because she basically clickbaits.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she goes for it.
Yeah.
She's like, why I hate church.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
want to talk about,
Yeah.
about why she sees the church
Yeah.
being so much more powerful.
Mm.
And like, Jesus isn't my friend.
She's so
Yeah.
It's like something that
Yeah.
grabs
Like,
her,
oh.
you're like,
Yeah. Well, you're talking about Jesus being my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many.
Yeah.
She's great there. But you did really well there.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks,
You
guys.
held your.
Oh, yeah, I was like,
You were so good at it. So good.
And you
Yeah.
threw them in when they're needed.
It's just a little something.
And your laugh. So infectious.
You just make it feel so natural.
And I
You
think
guys.
It makes it easier to watch
Yeah.
and listen to.
I think there's two ways you can go edit wise. Is like you basically keep to just serious stuff. But I think the joy in it is like it being personal.
Yeah.
And it being unfiltered.
Yeah.
And
Having
a bit
character.
raw and like totally.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's where the character comes from.
Yeah.
That's why people love that stuff on podcasts.
Mm.
Because they're like, oh, I can just listen to Jamie Lang actually talk about what Jamie Lamb wants to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
And there's enough podcasts which are just like.
Yeah.
Well, there's enough podcasts.
Yeah.
So like.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is key to get someone that either that you can easily like gel with, or you do need rapport, don't you? Because I think it just makes it feel more natural.
But certain people are better than that. Others.
Exactly.
And there'll be some
Yeah.
which are like
A bit more.
that, but you might
Yeah.
get some really
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
still unfiltered.
Yeah. Still. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just a different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, of like
Mm.
almost having different.
Yeah.
So it could be funny.
Go on.
It's like, I don't know. You almost frame it in a way of like, who's in control of what goes out. So it's like, what does it mean to be really unfiltered? Is it me and I just press upload to whatever content is recorded? Or is it in
Oh, you could like play with the concept.
narrative?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like in the same way with kids. At
Mhm.
Christmas, we were like,
Yeah.
the pounds in your hand.
Yeah.
Yes, like-
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. And that, I guess, even that might be quite fun with like with someone like if Pete ever wanted to do one,
Yeah.
because then it's like, do you know what I mean? As in, because it's
what
like,
do you think about cakes?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when the newcomers last time, Carter threw Pete an absolute stinker.
Really?
He loves
She's
to
like-
know what he's going to
He
say.
loves to
Yeah.
know what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
And she went, "What's your least favourite thing about leading KXC?"
So good. What did he
And
say?
He was stumped. He ended up saying, the staff team. But then he went into his classic answer of like, I don't operate well as a CEO. Classic
Yeah.
answer, good answers.
Yeah, but like the sort of
"That's not my
management.
role,
Yeah.
I'm so much better as a pastor than I am CEO,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, but when we get to a church, like we do the structures, we do these.
Yeah.
But it took him a few minutes to get
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
he
that.
was, He was itching in the seat. It's funny. I wish I recorded it.
So good. So
Um,
good. Yeah.
But even in the intro, it could be like, you could explain a bit of the heart behind it being unfiltered. It could be like, they haven't seen the questions. Like, we want to know what, like, we want to hear their story.
Yeah.
We want to
Yeah.
dig deeper into what faith means to them.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And what it means to, you,
Yeah.
or us, the listener.
Yeah.
How does that,
Yeah.
how does that impact my
Yeah.
life?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Because
good.
then that's kind of evangelism. It definitely has an evangelism wing of like,
Yeah.
what does it mean for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not alpha.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the corporate.
It's not just who is Jesus. It's like,
Yeah.
as she was saying, there'll be lots of people who've gone through recovery and like, what does that mean for me?
Yeah, exactly.
But like she also said,
Yeah.
there are lots of people who haven't got that story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's the dream, isn't it? That someone would hear it and be like, oh, like, what does this mean for me?
Totally.
This, like, just to even get that questioning. Because I think that's the biggest challenge for me is like, as evangelism pastors, there's just so many people who just like think that faith is irrelevant to them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That whole thing of like, oh, that's nice for you. And so it's like anything that we can do that's like beyond, like goes beyond that, or just gets people to maybe just question that, I think is like a massive win.
Which is why the HTB podcast is really cool. Have you seen it?
No.
They've got, it's brilliant. But they basically, most of it's on the street, asking people their opinions.
Oh. Is it on Spotify?
It's on Instagram. It's not necessarily their podcast, but it's their like evangelism outreach.
Ah.
Pops.
Yeah.
Oh, look at it.
There you are.
Oh, there I am. My lime green jacket.
Brand new green
Your green jacket.
That's so funny.
Anyway, they've got a really interesting. really interesting.
It's cool.
It's called The Way. Again, that's got like 100,000 followers on Instagram. So it's like really. He follows it. JC. Zach.
Jesus has come near to humour.
Good.
Well done.
It's back down.
It's packed down. What can I do? I need direction, but
Yeah,
I can
great.
take the chairs. Start with the
So
chairs.
yeah, chairs are great. It's a great place to start. What I'll probably do, Tommy, in terms of workflow, is I'll edit. I'll basically process the audio. Correct.
Yeah.
I'll process the audio as in
Yeah.
to put it through,
Yeah.
get it ready to listen to, and then put that
And sync
on
it.
Prank Pro,
Yeah.
and then sync